Hello all, have a good day. My name is Effie, and today we're going to speak about Dedup and FRBR. We will get to know a little bit about the process and see how we could maybe investigate and see exactly how the process affects on the system on our end, and hopefully that by the end of the session you will have a better understanding about it. So let's begin. So in this presentation, first thing we will have a short answer about the question, why exactly do we need Dedup and FRBR? Then we will go through the process of what exactly happens to a record once Primo V catch it and start processing it from the Dedup FRBR aspect. Then we'll have a look then we will have a look at the Dedup and FRBR test utility that we have in Alma for Primo VE. And afterwards, we'll see a few options that we have regarding suppressing Dedup and FRBR on our Primo VE. And then at the end, we'll have some time for Q&A. So let's begin. So, of course, the first question is exactly why do we need Dedup and FRBR? And really, it's very simple, real estate. So in our library world, or in our search engine world, to be more specific, we already know that most of our users browse for up maybe two or three pages until they give up and try another search. So if we could narrow the number of duplications and expose them to much more options, we hope that we could help them in more efficient way. So for example, here we can see the very classic example for FRBRs is Hamlet, because there are so many different versions, and straight away we can see that in the first result we already saved 2 slots. And also here we have another 7 versions, 6 versions, and so on. So just imagine the amount of pages that we needed to scroll until we'll get to page number 10 if we didn't have the option to FRBR. So this is regarding the question of why exactly do we need this duplication system. Now from this point, let's see what exactly happens to a record once it starts to be processed on Primo VE. So the first thing that happens is handling the dedup. Dedup meaning a duplication. So the name dedup itself is a shortcut for, here we go, oh, sorry, for duplication detection. And this is a system of vectors that creates keys, and with these keys we predict if 2 records are actually the same record. So the first thing is to extract all the information all the information that is relevant for dedup from the record, and based on the keys that we created, then 2 outcomes. We could result with 2 outcomes. Option A is that the keys that we just extracted don't match with anything, or match a little but not enough in order to determine that this is indeed deduped with some other record. And in this case, these keys are saved in the system and available for future use, meaning that maybe in the future we will add a different record that could match to this record and dedupe with it. Option B is to find a match, and once this match has happened, this record is deduped to that dedup group. By the way, the keys, just as we described in the first option, these keys are still kept in the system in order to dedupe with any future record that could join this group. Now, please note that the metadata that is displayed is the first record in the result set, but all the delivery information is gathered from all the members. So this way you have the metadata available with the most, let's say, relevant record for your search, but the delivery options are available also. All the different delivery options from all the different records within this Dedup group are available also. So once this record passed the dedup stage, then the FRBR mechanism kicks in. So again, with the same, let's say, logic, we extract different keys for FRBR that are relevant for FRBR, and then we try to group these records to become part of a FRBR group. And the same as we already seen, we have two options here. Option A, these vector keys don't match to anything, but still it's kept in the system for future use. And of course, option B, it's become part of a FRBR, it's get a FRBR ID or group ID, and then we're getting the famous multiple version exist link. Okay, so after clicking the multiple version exist, the results are grouped by the Dedup ID, meaning that FRBR group could contain Dedup groups. By the way, when I say keys and fields and so on, you could very much welcome to review the documentation that we have regarding Dedup and FRBR. The documentation name is Understanding the Dedup and FRBR process. I think we could also share the link to this documentation in the chat. And within this documentation, of course, with the explanation that we just described in this presentation, you also have all the different keys that are used with different notes. And again, this is not relevant only for Mark 21, but also for DC and Unimark. So you are more than welcome to review it and see exactly what information is used and where, and exactly what combinations are used. Okay. So, just to summarize the process for both Dedup and FRBR, the logic is, or the steps are pretty much the same. We are taking information from the record and compare it with information that we already have in the system. Now, if the information doesn't match to anything, it's stamped, the record stamped as a single record, and the information is kept for future use. If the information match to Dedup and then to FRBR, then the record is joined to a Dedup group, but if not to a Dedup, but to a FRBR group. And again, this information is kept for future use as well. So this is the logic here, and these are the steps, and let's continue and see the Dedup and FRBR test utility. For that, we will need to open Alma. Now, in Alma, let's click on the configuration wheel here. And here, under Discovery, we have the Other section. And in the Other section, we'll have the Dedup and FRBR test utility. Let's click it. And we can see here that we have two tabs. Tab number one is Find Matching Record. In this tab, this tab will provide us two things. Number one is all the keys and vectors, all the keys that are relevant for a specific record ID. We'll put the MMS ID and we'll see it shortly. And then at the bottom of the page, we'll see a list. If it's empty, it means that it's a single record, but if there is a list of a different MMS ID, it will be the other group members based on the radio button that you checked. So in this case, it will be FRBR or Dedup. So let us have a look. I already have here saved MMS IDs, but let me show you a real quick way to extract MMS IDs in Primo VE. So if we'll go here to one of the results, and let's click on this, for example, and at the URL, you'll see, I hope you can see it, and if not, you can try it on your Primo VE. So you'll see here the parameter doc ID, and then you'll see equals ALMA, meaning that this record is coming from ALMA, and then a number. The number is the MMS ID. So if we'll just copy it and just drop it here, we can click on Find Match Records, and it will start looking, and it will start the process. By the way, if you notice, there is here another button called Recalculate FRBR and Dedup Groups. Now, just a quick word regarding this button here. In case you did any metadata change or changes in your cataloging, and you see no difference in the record dedup or FRBR, or you want to be sure that indeed the dedup and FRBR process catch these specific updates that you did, you can put here the MMS ID of the specific record that you changed, and then click here, and this will trigger a job that recalculates all the keys and vectors for this specific record. So we can see here the different keys for this record, and here at the end we can see the hash key. Basically, what happens is that the system is translated the text to hash code, and this is where the comparison is actually happens, because it's much easier for the machine to calculate and compare these hash numbers. So this is what is compared, and this is a translated of the text itself. So in the FRBR section, we can see that this record is not, it's only have itself, but and if we'll go to the dedup, again, we can see here that for the dedup, we have much more keys because we want to be sure that indeed this record is matched to something. And I think it's dedup. Let us see. We can also go and we can go here to compare records. And let's try, you know what? Let's try to compare it with something that is not part of that. Let's say a different book. And again, this is the MMS ID. Copy it, move it to here, and click on compare. Now we can see that these two records are not matched at all, but this is again just for the example. Oh, minute. But we can see here, for example, that this record is deduped with this record, and we can see here the matches where it matches, and we can see that record to have much more keys, but for these specific keys, it's matches. And you can do the same with the FRBR. Now, let's continue with our presentation. Our next step is, okay, so the system is dedup and FRBR by its own, but what happens if I don't want to use this option at all? Let's start with at all, or for specific types of records, let's say, or for specific logic, I wish to present all of the available records without the duplications, the duplication mechanism. So this is also a possibility here. In order to do that, let's start with the first option. Let's go to the, let's click again on the configuration wheel. Under Discovery, we'll go now to the Configure Views option. And we have here a specific view for the GoVE. Let's use this one. And now, under the brief results, tab, you can scroll all the way down, and here you have the possibility to disable or enable FRBR or Dedup. Now, please note that once you disable the checkbox, it will disable the mechanism for the entire view. So if you wish to disable it, for the entire view, you just check out these two checkboxes. If you have more than one view, and let's say you have a view with that covers a very little, and you don't wish to use the duplication, you can do that as well. Again, this is an option that you have on the view level. Okay. Now, if you want to suppress a Dedup and FRBR based on a logic, again, we'll click on the configuration wheel under Discovery. Under Others, we have here the suppress Dedup and FRBR. If you notice, it's right above the Dedup and FRBR test utility. And here we can set different logics. So we already have a test logic here, but let's click on add the suppress rule. Let's add the new suppress rule and see exactly what options we have. So once I will click on it, again, code, description, a few words for your fellow staff members for them to understand exactly what is the meaning of this. Here you could suppress Dedup and FRBR or Dedup only if you have these options as well. And let's see what logic options we have here. So we have here, of course, the inventory, meaning if we have some external data source, we could set a specific external data source out of Dedup and FRBR. If we have a library, for example, we have to select a specific library. And under inventory, we have even the location. So we have also the location, of course, with different operators, equal, not equals for this option, but we have a lot more options in the different departments. So again, this is the location itself. This is regarding inventory. We have the local field option. If you add a local field, so you have this option as well. And of course, we have the metadata. So right now, let me maybe zoom out to see if we can have a bigger picture. So again, under the metadata, we have these options. So for example, material type, and then of course, equal, not equal, let's say all the maps, for example. So we want to disable Dedup or FRBR for all the map values. And again, we have here much more different options. Oh, let's say for subject that it's a free text. So we have equal, not equal, and so on. And we have here a free text that we can write. So once a subject equals this specific string, it will be suppressed and not Dedup. Okay, so this is regarding the suppression options that we have. We will plan to add more suppression options for Dedup and FRBR later later, please keep following the release notes for any news regarding it. So I think this is it. If you have any questions, Scott, this is the time.
Yeah, we do have a couple of questions that came in. The first one was, what do you mean by keys?
Okay, so let me, let me open maybe the documentation, and here we go. So basically, a key is a combination of few fields. So, for example, here we have a F1 plus F5 plus F6, meaning these. So this is a key, a combination of different fields are creating keys. For example, the most classic one is a title plus author for FRBR. So if the title and the author are the same, in most cases it will be a FRBR because it's probably a different version, but the author and the title is the same. Let's get back to Hamlet, Shakespeare. Title and author are the same, but it's probably a different version. Yeah.
Okay. While you're defining things, what's a vector exactly?
Vector. Well, it's a general name for creating, for extracting strings and then doing something with them. It's a very generic it's a generic term, but yeah, but basically what we want to say is that we're scanning the record and just well, I'll use the word harvesting, but taking relevant information for us and then generating something from it. In this case, it's these keys.
Okay, the next question is, the metadata is displayed from the first record. What about facet values? Are they two just from the first record?
Yes. Yes, because the facet values are based on amount of results, and the first record is the record that is available. So the answer for that is yes.
Okay, another question. Can you remind us the difference between dedupe and FRBR and match and merge?
Well, there isn't exactly much in merge here because this is Primo VE, but let's say okay, dedupe is taking two records and trying to define if these two records are the same. Two records that came maybe from different systems, but they're actually the same, and it's a shame to display two lines of results for the same result. So let's merge them to one line, but so the metadata, because the metadata is the same for both of them, but let's say the delivery section, that is the links to the source and so on, let's put the details there, or the availability for both records there. And this way, the end users enjoy the same information, but in a less space. FRBR, on the other hand, is the same book, but with a different version, meaning that it's not the same. It's not really the same book. It's a different version of the same book. But let's say that I'm looking for. I'm sorry that I'm always getting back to Hamlet, but it's the more classic one. So if I will search for Hamlet, and I won't have FRBR for this example, the first 14 results will be, let's say, Hamlet in 14 different languages. And then I'll have let's say, the script, or maybe a movie that this is the information that I really wanted. I didn't want the book. I already have the book in my private home. I want access to the movie, let's say. So in this case, maybe the student won't get to result number 14 or 16 until he will get something that is relevant for him. And also think about it. If you get 14 of the same lines in page number 1, I mean, you'll get out with a feeling that you didn't search correctly, and then or you try a new search, or you try to ask your librarian. So we try to save that with FRBR. I hope this answered the question.
Okay, another question is, so the MMSID in the doc ID represents only the first record in a dedupe group, is that correct?
Exactly. You're speaking about this option, I assume. So when you go here and click on this book, let's say that this book is deduped with something, what you see here, yes, it's the first result. But what you'll see in the get it section is the combination of all the other results combined.
Okay, another question is, how can we get exact results without turning FRBR off completely?
Again?
The question is, how can we get exact results without turning FRBR off completely?
I'm not quite understand exactly. Could you elaborate, or you know what? Maybe the best thing will be, could you just send us the question? Let me just pop it out here again. So could you please email us this question, because I didn't get to the bottom of it.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. Another question is, in Primo Backoffice, we set the dedupe keys to match only on the 020, 022, and 776 fields. Will this kind of customization be replicable with the new configuration for dedupe keys around or announced for Primo VE in the 2021 roadmap?
Is these keys are part of the bib record itself? Because if the answer is yes, then you could set a local field that is based on these fields, and then set the suppression on these keys.
Okay, the next question is, I've really struggled to understand the calculations based off 035 fields. Usually what displays is a string of all the 035 fields, and I do not know if it is trying to match the entire string in the order in which it appears, or if any one match will do. I run into a lot of I run into a lot of problems getting a successful dedupe between the community zone records and a physical manifestation of the same title. I've tried manipulating the 035 with no luck. Can you help?
Well, I think this is a classic question, or to the GoVE group, or maybe a Salesforce case. You know what? Send it to the GoVE group, and we'll see if we could answer it by mail, or just suggest you to open a case to the support, because I think we need a deep dive into it just to see exactly what are your examples, and how we could help with your specific scenario.
Okay, another question. Can you suppress for FRBR alone based off format, such as material type, or LDR in the bibliographic record?
The answer is yes. I think we saw it earlier. Let me just open my Alma here. So if you see here, right now, out of the box, you have the option of, if you select metadata, you have here a material type. And then you could select exactly what material type you wish to undedupe or unFRBR.
Okay, next question is, if I remember correctly, the suppression rules only apply to newly added or updated records. Is that correct? If that is true, how do you get them to apply to already existing records?
I think they should catch all of them, but please send me this question. I want to be sure that I answer you correctly about it.
Another question is, when will it be fully possible to configure dedupe and FRBR rules in Primo VE?
I don't have exact date for that, but I know that we are working on expanding the options here.
Okay, hold on for a sec. My queue of questions moved.
Hi, Scott. This is Ben.
Hey, Ben.
Hi. I'll add to that last question, and maybe a few others. So we're planning for the second half of 2021. Now it won't be made fully flexible. You won't be able to select your list of keys as it was possible in Primo Back Office. What you're probably going to have is 2 or 3 or 4 different alternatives of groups of dedup or FRBR tests. Right? As at the moment, you have one batch of tests. So you'll have a few different alternatives to choose from.
Okay, and the other question is, are you planning to change the dedup algorithm?
Okay, not that I'm aware of. I know, again, the main changes that we will provide are regarding, let's say, flexibility here, but not as far as we know, we don't plan to change the algorithm itself.
Okay, another question is, can you please outline basic troubleshooting steps if you have 2 titles that should have been combined in display under FRBR that were not combined?
So I think that the first step will be to identify exactly the 2 records that you wish to combine, and then go to the test utility. So where is it? Here we go. Dedup FRBR test utility. And here you have compare records, and under FRBR, just go to the 2 records, and here you'll get the report of which what keys each record have and what is the difference between them, and based on that, say exactly what you're missing in order to make them a FRBR in this case. Another thing is, if you see here that everything is okay data-wise, maybe try to refresh the dedup algorithm regarding the updated records with the recalculate FRBR and dedup button here.
Okay, let me find another question. We have a few more. I suspect we're seeing a let's see, that's not a question, it's a comment. I've had an instance where records seem to be matched for dedup on the title plus ISSN key when the ISSN was blank for both records. Is it expected that dedup would consider blank fields to be a match, or would that be a bug that I should report?
I think it's the first time that I'm hearing about it, but it seems like a bug because blank shouldn't match anything. So yes, please report it.
Okay, another question is, will you ever make it possible to dedup and FRBR CDI with local ALMA records?
As far as I know, no. The answer is no, because technically it's very I think the sacrifice of the performance here is too big to in order to sacrifice maybe. So as far as I know, the answer for that is no. Ben, maybe you have any other answer about it, but
it's not on the current roadmap.
yeah.
Will we ever? Maybe, but it's not on the 2021 roadmap.
Yeah.
Okay, another question is, can we edit the dedup or FRBR criteria to modify the resulting keys and thus change what items are grouped together?
I think not at the moment. It's pretty hard coded. The keys themselves. You can change the data itself in order to match the generated keys, but not the keys that or not, you cannot add maybe keys to the calculation.
Okay, thanks for addressing so many questions. We do have a few more.
Okay.
Sorry to tease you on that one. Metadata from portfolios are sometimes very minimal, no ISBN, for example, and won't dedup with our print copy. What are the minimal elements that we can expect from the portfolios of the community zone?
Send me that question. I need to to investigate it a little bit and send you. I don't want to misguide you, so I want to confirm the answer before sending it to you. So please send it. Let me just open the again the presentation for the mail. So yeah, please send it to the GoVE mailbox.
Yep, and that's go_VE@xlibrisgroup.com. Okay, next question is, hold on. If I've had an instance where records seem to be matched for dedupe on the title plus ISSN key when the ISSN was blank for both records, is it expected? Did we ask
it is a bug. Yeah, we already asked that.
Okay, give me a second. Sorry.
It's okay.
Last one. Do we have to go to an item by item when we add a rule? If I want to suppress dedupe and FRBR for one of our libraries, can I recalculate FRBR and dedupe groups for the whole library in a batch?
Yes, you can do that with just prepare an update set, and when you update it, it also recalculate the dedupe and FRBR. If you want to suppress dedupe and FRBR for a specific library, you can suppress it with the suppress tool that we have here. So again, is it? Here we go. Suppress dedupe and FRBR, and in here under the logic you have a logic for library or even location. If you wish to suppress, if you wish to just recalculate the dedupe for a batch of records, again, create an update set with ALMA, and this will trigger Primo V as well.
Okay, and if I ask this question, please let me know, since we have had so many. How do you enable the latest edition of a book as the first record in a FRBR group?
I think, please send it. I will answer you by mail. Yeah.
Okay, there are a couple of questions. You mentioned the brief record display will be the first record. How was the first record determined?
The first record that pops in the list of the search engine. So the first result that in the list of the search engine will be displayed.
Okay, another question that came in. So IZ records don't dedupe against CZ records, or they don't FRBR, or both?
Let's see. You need to, if no, they won't, because they're not under the same let's say database. But if you get them or download them to your local repository, then it's part of your item list, and then it will become part of Dedup or FRBR group if needed.
Okay, yet another question is, with Classic Primo, we had the option to define custom FRBR keys via normalization rules applied to our data.
Yeah, so now you still have normalization rule. In this case, I'll just send you to the document, because there is a section here about the normalization rules in Primo VE, in normalization method. As far as I know, most of it I'll send it to here, but you can have some. It's not that flexible, but you have some degree of controlling of control with normalization. So in this case, I will refer you to the documentation.
Okay, those are all the questions I believe that we've received. So if you want to go to your last slide and make some concluding remarks, and if anybody else has any other questions, they can submit them to the GoVE email address that is represented on the slide.
Oh yeah, let me just open the slide again. Here we go. So again, thank you all for joining. I hope, well, I hope that this introduction with Dedup and FRBR made your understanding a little bit better, and just seeing the different tools that you have and different options that you have with Primo VE. And also, if you have any additional questions, please feel free to submit them in the GoVE mailbox. Thank you.